Step back, or I'll fire a warning shot. Those were the first words out of my mouth the morning 3 men in HOA polo shirts marched up to my gate with clipboards and fake badges. I had Frank's old Winchester in my hands, cold steel biting into my palms, and for a split second I thought about how insane this must look an architect from Denver threatening so-called compliance officers. But I wasn't bluffing. These people had been circling this land for years, and if they thought I was going to fold just because they had paperwork, they were dead wrong. 3 weeks earlier, I was sketching another sterile office complex in Denver when I got the call, Uncle Frank was gone, heart attack, 72 years old, alone in his cabin like always. I drove 4 hours through winding mountain roads, half expecting to find a rotten shack. Instead, I saw a sturdy log home on the edge of Pine Ridge Lake, water like glass, reflecting the pines. For the first time in months, I felt peace. But peace doesn't last long when the HOA smells blood. Uncle Frank left me 15 acres, full mineral rights, everything. But there was a catch: the will forbid me from selling or transferring the land. Violate that clause, and I'd lose it all. My lawyer, Peterson, mentioned people had asked about that clause multiple times, and I felt the first chill. Then I walked the property line and found the stakes. Bright orange survey markers with HOA property do not remove. They cut through my land like a knife shaving off a third of the waterfront. I ripped those stakes out one by one, metal screeching like nails on a chalkboard. Back inside, rummaging through Frank's desk, I found a sealed envelope with my name. His handwriting steady as always. Open when the HOA comes calling. The letter inside made my stomach drop. They've wanted this land for 20 years. Don't trust anyone outside the family. And, whatever you do, check the dog statue at the gate. At the bottom, he'd sketched a rifle and scrawled, "Sometimes you have to make them listen." The very next day, a polished woman in her 40s showed up at my door with a leather briefcase and a politician's smile. "I'm Claire Whitmore," she said, "your half-sister." She handed me DNA results, birth certificates, documents that looked legit. She claimed we shared the same father and that the HOA had offered her millions to sell. $8 million. "Ethan," she purred like she was doing me a favor. I didn't buy her act, but I played along, asked her to bring a contract. If she was working with the HOA, I wanted proof. That night, I followed her into town. I watched her sit down at a cafe with a woman who looked like she could order a firing squad with a smile. Margot Vance, HOA President, CEO of Vance Construction Predator in Pearls. Claire leaned in, whispering nervously, "He's suspicious, Margot." Margot's reply was ice cold. "Then we remind Mr. Mallister there are other ways to acquire property." My gut twisted, but my mind was racing. This wasn't a family reunion, it was a setup. The next morning, I checked the dog statue by the gate. Sure enough, there was a hidden camera inside, transmitting to the HOA's servers. They'd been watching me from the moment I set foot on the land. Instead of smashing it, I staged a show. I pretended to panic, pacing around, muttering about selling, making fake phone calls. Let them think I was weak. When the compliance team came strutting up with their clipboards accusing me of unauthorized vegetation maintenance and illegal pet ownership, I grabbed Frank's. Winchester went live on Facebook and called them out in front of hundreds of viewers. The look on their faces when I yanked that hidden camera out of the statue, priceless. But the HOA struck back fast. Williams, their lead goon, filed a complaint that I'd threatened him with a deadly weapon. Deputies hauled me off in cuffs, and for the first time I broke. Sitting in that cell, I thought maybe they were right. Maybe I was the crazy one. Maybe it wasn't worth it. I kept replaying Frank's words in my head, but they felt hollow now. The land was turning me into a criminal, and I wondered if selling walking away might be easier. Then my old friend Mike called. His family had lost their home in Colorado Springs to the same scam, fake environmental reports. Condemnations, land seized and remediated by Vance Construction. They lost everything. Hearing his voice crack as he told me his kids still asked why they couldn't go home. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just my fight. This was bigger. Frank had known it all along. Mike brought me something else. Frank's hidden notebook. 20 years of meticulous notes, photos of midnight survey crews, recordings of HOA meetings, lists of bribes to County Commissioner Thomas Brennan. Even Claire's real background, not my sister at all, but a career con artist tied to Brennan. I held that notebook in my hands and felt Frank's presence guiding me, daring me to finish what he started. When the HOA delivered a sealed container labeled building materials to my gate, I knew better. I cut it open on live stream with Peterson at my side. Inside, radiation detectors, fake government seals, even containers of low-level radioactive material. Pre-printed hazard reports waiting for signatures. Their plan was sick. Contaminate my land file. Emergency reports have it condemned, then swoop in to build luxury resorts. My stream exploded with outrage, viewers promising to forward everything to the feds. That night, Margot played her final card, Plan Z. Burn the cabin down with me inside, make it look like an accident. The only reason I survived was because I was in jail. Her arrogance was her downfall. FBI agents swarmed Pine Ridge armed with Frank's recordings and my live streams. Arrests came down like dominoes. Brennan caught shredding files. Claire busted in a hotel with fake IDs. And Margot dragged out of an emergency HOA meeting still screaming about eliminating the Mallister problem permanently. I testified in court with Frank's notebook in my hands. The jury heard Margot's own voice ordering contamination bribery, even my murder. Victims from across the state lined up to tell their stories, families' broken homes, stolen lives wrecked by her schemes. The gavel came down hard, 25 years in federal prison, no parole. Her empire collapsed overnight. I never got to see Frank's reaction, but I know what he would have said leaning back in that creaky chair with a cigarette in his hand. Sometimes you have to make them listen. And that's the lesson: if you don't stand your ground, someone else will steal it from under your feet.